Diversity in the workplace is our second topic in this human resource management module. We focus here on diversity in the workplace as one part of how an increasing number of organizations are committing themselves to the principles of diversity, equity and inclusion, or DEI as the shortened acronym. On this slide are three examples of why DEI matters in an organizational context. And first, DEI helps organizations to attract top talent, and simply put, people want to work in diverse, equitable and inclusive organizations. And the percentages on this slide are taken from a Deloitte survey from 2020. And as you can see, 80% of people who say inclusion is important when selecting an employer, and almost 40% of people say that they leave their current organization for a more inclusive one. Embracing a commitment to DEI also helps organizations to grow and innovate, and companies that create diverse and inclusive work environments are more adaptable and creative. Finally, failing to elevate DEI, which is basically enabling outright discrimination, can be very detrimental. It's estimated that workplace discrimination costs businesses around $64 billion annually. Generally speaking, diversity relates to empowering people by respecting and appreciating what makes them different in terms of age, gender, ethnicity, religion, disability, sexual orientation, education, and national origin. Taking the general definition of diversity from the previous slide and then applying it to the workplace, diversity centers around actively bringing people of all backgrounds from the perspective of age, gender, religion, sexual orientation to be a part of the workplace, which includes aspects that are also unseen, like learning differences. Workplace diversity is extremely important because it creates an environment that more directly reflects the world outside the walls of the organization, and therefore allows organizations to better develop their goods and services to meet the needs of their customers, stakeholders, and users. There's an article by Mowat and colleagues that I've included on the Canvas page which introduces this idea of cultural competency, and the authors cite Anderson and Stone, who suggest that professionals must increase their cultural competency that goes beyond a generalized awareness of difference. Leisure service professionals, both practitioners and faculty, must have the necessary set of cultural skills to work with and engage diverse communities, with race being just one identifiable marker of communities of difference. There's a need for practitioners within the Rec and Parks field, like the graphic shows on this slide, to not just have awareness of people's differences, whether they be co-workers or customers, but also to develop attitudes, knowledge and skills, the competence to empower people from all backgrounds. In the article by Allison and Hibbler on Canvas, the authors talk about how most human service professionals fail to recognize the extent to which programs are embedded within an increasingly multiracial society, and instead diversity, particularly ethnic differences in values, norms and behaviors, are assumed to be a temporary state, and that in time, these differences will disappear, resulting in the homogenization of American culture. And this is problematic because of the changing ethnic composition of these communities. Many respondents within Allison and Hibbler's study suggested that the ethnic composition of the staff influenced community perceptions, particularly among the young people. So Allison and Hibbler suggest recreation and parks agencies need to do more than just develop cultural competency. Perceptions matter and may serve as immovable barriers to entry. So it becomes important in order to meet organizational objectives, which are inevitably focused around the quality of life of the communities and residents Rec and Parks agencies serve, for these agencies to diversify their workforce. And that leads us onto the matter of what can organizations do? How can organizations advance a commitment to diversity and inclusion? I've gone ahead and included a three-part article on Canvas And specifically within part 2, the author Jonathan Wiersma runs through how to launch an administrative initiative on diversity and inclusion. And it's interesting that the author mentions the need to identify barriers to success. So just like with information technology adoption, diversity and inclusion initiatives, especially when they influence the way in which organizations recruit and retain staff, is potentially a disruptive innovation because it may suggest conducting business in a way that is at odds or oppositional to the existing status quo. So such a wide-reaching initiative like a diversity and inclusion program also needs buy-in from key departments and senior managers, and the work required to launch such efforts also require many hands, so not surprising that Wiersma suggests the need to create a committee. This 3-part article may come in handy for the diversity audit assignment this week, especially when considering where and how your chosen organisation is perhaps lacking in its diversity efforts. And that brings to a close this short recording on diversity in the workplace. And I'm confident that the activity on diversity this week will present an opportunity for you to get more involved with this topic and the related issues and concepts. Please keep the questions coming. I'm always happy to help. Bye for now.